whisper here. I wanted to do an ASMR video today, and seeing as a lot of people are talking about Game of Thrones, I thought that could be the topic for this video. So I'll say in advance that if you aren't up to date with the TV show, there will be spoilers ahead. And I'm just going to give a season review, really. And I think the best place to start will be at the end, with the stunning scene regarding Jon Snow being betrayed by various members of the Night's Watch, being stabbed 6 times in the stomach. And a lot of people are wondering, is he dead? Is he gone? Is he completely gone? And for once, people who've read the books don't know either, because one of the last things that happened in the books was that very scene. Personally, I think Jon Snow is dead. I don't think anyone could survive that assault. However, I don't think he'll necessarily stay dead. I found it interesting that they would bring a lady, I believe her name is Melisandre, the Red Witch. I found it interesting that they brought her back to Castle Black shortly before Jon Snow died. For the past 5 seasons, she's been very loyal to Stannis Baratheon, who we'll get to. And all of a sudden, she flees in the middle of, or on the eve of battle, and returns to Castle Black, and that's quite a strange course of action, unless she had a specific purpose, and I think that purpose will turn out to be to revive Jon Snow. We know that blood magic, which is the magic she uses, is capable of bringing people back to life. We saw it with Khal Drogo and with the Brotherhood without banners. And I think Jon Snow is so central to the storyline that he'll have to be brought back in some way. And I think that's how. However, I think that he'll be brought back as, let's say, with a different surname. I think we might finally find out who Jon's real parents are when they put him in the fire to try and cremate him. But of course there's a lot more to talk about other than that. I thought the season was very good overall. At times it felt a little bit slow and wandering, but that was really only a few scenes. For the most part, it was fascinating, engaging, very dramatic, and I think the last 3 episodes were a real high point for the TV show as a whole. I think it's as good as it's ever been, especially the episode Hard Home, which was a lot of people's highlight, mainly because of the battle between the Wildlings and the Night's Watch versus the White Walkers, which was spectacular when Jon was fighting the White Walker, and when the Whites ran over the cliff. It was stunning, really, for a TV show to be able to pull off that battle. I honestly thought it was fantastic, and a lot of people agreed. I've also enjoyed Daenerys' storyline this season. She's of course facing opposition to her rule of Marine, and the street battle in which Barrister Selmy died was sort of quite shocking, really. It wasn't quite Red Wedding level, but certainly very. I didn't see it coming at all. But I think her best part was firstly the meeting with Tyrion, which I know a lot of fans of the books have been waiting for, because the books have got as far as Tyrion travelling to Daenerys, but he hasn't yet met her, so to see them two meet and almost bounce their wits off each other was really interesting, and I was glad that they didn't drag out Daenerys' mistrust of him. I think it's very obvious that Tyrion is no longer a supporter of the Lannisters, and I'm glad we didn't have to go through episodes of Daenerys wondering whether she can trust him. It all sort of happened quite quickly and naturally, so that was really good, because it meant we got to see Tyrion back in a position of power, which I think is where he shines. Of course, the other thing about Tyrion that I enjoyed this season was seeing his almost buddy comedy partnership with Varys, which is something that I don't think many people saw coming. Varys by nature is a very secretive character, and the character in the TV show is very different from the character in the books, who is not quite as peace-loving in the books, I don't think. But certainly in the TV show he's formed a brilliant partnership with Tyrion, and they were hilarious together. And I was very happy when he popped up in the last episode, and the two reunited and rekindled their partnership to restore peace to the Seven Kingdoms. It was perhaps the one uplifting point in that final episode. But back to Daenerys. Aside from meeting Tyrion, of course everyone was talking about the battle in the slave pits and the appearance of Drogon, who is the eldest, or perhaps not the eldest seeing as they were born at the same time, but certainly the most senior of Daenerys' dragons. I thought the CGI during the flying sequences was a little bit ropey, which is the first time I've ever thought that during a Game of Thrones episode. The dragon itself, and any time the dragon was sort of on the ground fighting, all looked perfect and very high quality, as we've come to expect, but there was just something about the flying scenes where the green screen didn't look quite seamless. But I think that can be forgiven really for such a dramatic scene. And of course we leave Daenerys' story with her being surrounded by the Dothraki, unsure whether they will be friendly towards her or enemies. Depends how much they respect her previous relationship with Khal Drogo. storyline that came, or seemingly came to an end, was that of Stannis Baratheon. He spent most of this season preparing to march on Winterfell. He became consumed by desire for the throne. To be honest, I wouldn't even say desire. I think he had almost convinced himself that he had gone too far to turn back. I don't necessarily think he wanted the Iron Throne, he just felt he had to take it, or at least try to. And that, of course, led to him sacrificing his daughter, Shireen. I honestly think it was one of the most harrowing scenes of television I've ever seen, certainly. I think it was very well executed. Excuse the choice of words there. But it was certainly very emotional. And from that point on, I think Stannis was doomed to fail, really. And then in the last episode, he marched on Winterfell and was, of course, defeated by the House Bolton. Before being seemingly, I'm pretty sure this is what happened, he was executed by Brienne of Tarth. Now, there's always a little bit of doubt when you don't see the character die on screen, and we didn't with Stannis. We saw Brienne approach him. He told her to do her duty, and she swung her sword at his head, and then it cut to black. Now, that's certainly a very strong suggestion that he has met his end. I personally believe that that is what's happened. I think Stannis' story has reached a natural conclusion. He attempted to take the Iron Throne and was consumed by his own greed or lust for power. Even though legally he was the rightful heir to the throne, I suppose, he wasn't necessarily the best heir to the throne, as pointed out by Varys. But I think his story has come to a conclusion. I'm not sure he will be much help in the upcoming war against the White Walkers, and I think having that storyline taken out of play makes room for Daenerys coming over to Westeros, and the White Walkers coming down, and various other things. I think the battle for the Iron Throne is being put to one side gradually, and the battle for Westeros as a whole, and life as they know it, is coming to the fore even more. And I think Stannis dying is a clear indication of that. I think it's also the reason we haven't seen much of the Greyjoys, excluding Theon, of course, but we'll get to him in a second. But we haven't seen much of the Greyjoys really, because they're a part of the Battle of Five Kings. They haven't got much to offer the battle against the White Walkers. But coming back to Theon, his storyline with Sansa was, and over some, quite hard to watch. And it was frustrating at times. He was just screaming at the television, telling him to regain his former self, to stop his reek, slave persona and be Theon Greyjoy again. And finally, in the last episode, that paid off, and Theon returned. And no sooner had he returned, but him and Sansa jumped off a wall of Winterfell. I personally think they've survived that fall. I don't think. Certainly, I don't. Sansa's story has reached its end. I would argue Theon's hasn't either, but certainly Sansa has a lot more to offer the show. I don't think she would have died from that fall. They did jump onto snow, not Jon Snow, you understand. Weather snow. And I think, depending on how much snow there is, it could have broken their fall. I certainly think it's possible that they are alive, and likely that they are alive. And I've no doubt that they'll meet up with Brienne and Pod. What they'll do there is anyone's guess, really. King's Landing, the events there weren't as prominent in this series. The main story revolving around the Faith Militant with the High Sparrow, which I found quite an interesting storyline, although it certainly wasn't one that stuck in my mind most after episodes. But definitely that final scene where Cersei was walking through the streets, that was shocking. In the best of ways, really. You just don't expect to see things that brutal on TV, and it was a different type of brutal. I mean, we've seen exploding heads and burning children on Game of Thrones, but that was a different type of brutality Cersei experienced. Of course, there's a strong argument that she deserved it. She's killed a lot of people, manipulated even more of them. But it was terrifically acted, really. And you couldn't take your eyes off it. I think that's what makes Game of Thrones such an important show. I think the other key thing, and I may have missed out many things, I know I haven't touched on the Dawn storyline really, and I don't think there's too much to say there. It was entertaining, but quite self-contained. But we didn't see Bran, Hodor and that company this season at all, which leads me to believe that the next time we see Bran, he will be a fully fledged warg, quite powerful, which is in contrast to Arya, who we see training. I think, next time we meet Bran, he will be quite a powerful warg, and will be ready to assist Jon Snow, assuming he is revived, in fighting the White Walkers. I think eventually Jon will team up with Daenerys. I personally think that them two are the Song of Fire and Ice, and I think at some point we will see them form an alliance along with Tyrion. And hopefully other people like Bran. I'm not sure if Arya will be there, but for me I think that's the way the show is heading, although I could be completely wrong on that. So that brings us to an end, really. I'm not sure I've missed a lot of elements out. If you've enjoyed a particular element of this series, just leave a comment, let me know. If you like this video, please like, subscribe if you'd like to hear more from me. And I hope you have an excellent day.